Hello there, beautiful souls, beautiful humans. RozyGlow here with the lovely Anna Hampton, who I'm just delighted to be able to have this conversation with and to share with you her journey from challenge to celebration, because actually there are many celebrations that have come along, but for Anna it was a particularly challenging path that she's had to shift her perspective on. And we talk about enjoying rather than enduring, but actually there are times when you just have to accept you are enduring. And it's about how to be able to align with grace and ease in the most challenging circumstances. And this is exactly why I wanted to bring you on to share your story, Anna, because you have had incredibly challenging circumstances to go through. Now, just to set the scene for everybody, Anna is a graduate of the Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless 6-month program, which is a motherboard rewiring from surviving to thriving. Okay, this is something I talk about a lot, and it's probably one of the most important elements of what I teach in my coaching. It's my signature program, but it is also to make clear that on the other side of that, you have the pre-birth influences, which is like a 1-month intensive. And then there is a conscious mind alignment course called Liberation from Limitation. And the three together kind of do the whole package, if that makes sense. But Anna has only actually done Fearless, Loved Up and Limitless. So I really just wanted to start there because I asked you, when did you graduate? And it's a year ago, right? It's just over a year ago. So why are we're not going to start with the celebrations. Normally we start with celebrations, but we're going to start with the challenges to see if you can self-identify with the key things that brought Anna to me, because I know it was a masterclass on pre-birth influences and how they shape us. And I also know that you knew someone who'd been through the program, and it's usually through recommendation that people come to me, because this is deep stuff and it can feel intimidating, right? Usually you have to have a breaking point to get you to the point that you go, you know what, I just can't carry on like this anymore. I'd rather take the risk of trying something and it not working than actually not trying something, right? So that's kind of where you were. Do you want to give us a little synopsis of the breaking point you got to before we got working together?
Yeah, so there was a lot going on for me. I guess my whole life, set the whole scene. My whole life I've felt challenged, I've felt different, and I've always felt that there was more for me. And I've always struggled with my inner critic, which I didn't even know was there, and beat myself up a lot, not knowing what harm that was actually doing to me, not even realizing I was doing it. So I guess my real struggle started after I had my son, who has a lot of complex challenges. And 2 years after him, had a lot of health issues myself. I had 2 stillbirths, and following that, I got some autoimmune conditions, which really made me very poorly. I was in and out of hospital a lot. I actually thought I was going to die. I was that ill. And then things went on, and my son's behaviour got more and more challenging. With my health conditions, that became really exhausting. And I was just frustrated, exhausted, and living on repeat. And just, I guess, it was like a relentless Groundhog Day. I've heard you say that phrase before, and that's exactly how it was. And I was just like, how do I get out of this? There's more to life. What am I doing wrong? And I guess I was sowing that seed, asking those questions. I'd actually been led to you, Rosanna, a couple of years previous, but not really taken much notice. It didn't really resonate with me at that time. I dipped in and looked at little bits and pieces that you were doing. But suddenly it kept popping up and it became very prominent for me. And I thought, I need to do inner work. I really need to do inner work. I've really got to face the inner demons that are causing me a lot of stress and self-berating. And so I guess that's eventually how I then came. You kept popping up. I asked and it was shown. I asked and it was shown. You were shown. And I was like, I get
the
this
student's
now.
ready, the teacher appears, right? It's like, hello, I'm over here.
That's it.
And
When
actually,
you're ready to learn, the teacher appears.
to bring you to like what I remember about you, because it's really important. I'd love you to touch base a little bit more on, the challenges you do have with your son, so others can actually recognize that in themselves, because, neurodivergence is obviously on most people's radar these days, which is a really, really good thing, but there's different levels of it. And you have been dealing with a lot. And also, just to give context for everybody, you yourself are a therapist. You're a massage therapist, a reflexology therapist, you're a healer. There's all sorts of elements of you, and you say you never felt like you belong. For me, Anna's a classic starseed that maybe didn't identify as a starseed, but identified as a light worker or an empath. And, you know, this is the part of the circling that actually is a spiraling into, yes, I'm ready, which is what you did. So, you know, the other thing that I think is very important is to recognize stages of awakening. So, you know, when you came to me, you were stuck in a loop, and it's very difficult to come out of that. And you really feel like a victim because things keep happening that feel like they're out of your control. And it is so difficult in that moment to actually consider, well, how am I contributing to this? How is my expectation, which is a build-up of previous things happening that you never expected to happen, happening. And then you build this negative anticipation over time. It's almost like we wake up every morning dreading the day, pushing the day away, fearing what's going to happen. I've been there, you know, many times. So it's like you made the shift from that level to empowerment, and even now to surrender. And if anyone's heard of Joe Vitale's 4 stages of awakening, I love the way he described it. A stage of awakening is victim consciousness. It's knowing that you're feeling like a victim. Like the moment you know you're feeling like that, that's a PowerPoint. Then you get to empowerment when you learn some tools and you see, well, these are working for me, great. And then you get to surrender when you're like, these aren't working for me anymore. What's going on? What's in my control? What isn't in my control? And then that real awakening comes from playing the game. You know, let me surrender what I can't do. Let me do what I can. And let me just come into the space of doing this with grace, right? So what do you want to share about your son and anything I've just said?
And I'll just quickly add to that, also what comes with that is a lot of patience with yourself and the process, because it doesn't always happen super quickly. It takes time to dig deep. It takes time for you to notice what's happening to you. So with my son, he is autistic. He is high functioning autistic. He's incredibly intelligent, which he lets me know all the time and compares himself to me, which is nice. He is also ADHD combined type, and he also has PDA, which is pathological demand avoidance. We just call it demand avoidance really now, which makes parenting a whole different kettle of fish, even to parenting autism, because you can't put the usual demands you'd put on a child, such as get up, or brush your teeth, put your shoes on. Everything has to be phrased very differently. And even tone of voice for him. If I'd say something, sometimes tone of voice would trigger him. Now, his needs started to get really unmet when he joined senior school. He went straight there from lockdown, and he had a near mental breakdown, what I'd say, is what a health assessment told us. And we were told we need to make some drastic changes, which we did. We did everything as parents we could. We did all the courses, jumped all the hoops, did everything we could, but mainstream just did not work for him as much as we tried. We had a school change and everything. They were fantastic, his latest school, but even that just wasn't enough. So he started to become aggressive, being a teenager as well, and a very big one. He's 6'2". He only just turned 14, and he's now 6'2". He became quite aggressive, and that was verbal and physical. And daily we were waiting for the kickoff, waiting for that impending kind of, it just kept you in that place of fear, kept you in a state of fight or flight, because you didn't know if you were going to speak out, you know, with the wrong tone, or if you'd kick off at something and it would turn aggressive. So, you know, that was a lot to deal with. My nervous system I don't think anyone's nervous system could take that for too long. But of course, you want to do the best for your child, and you want to just keep going. And that's how I am as well. I just want to keep going. You don't realize that actually you need to step away sometimes. You need to step back to survey what's really going on, and then also to look at what you need as a person, because if you start going downhill, you can't help anybody else. And that became really apparent to me, and really key to start looking after my own needs. And I think that's when I started looking more inside, which is something we avoid when we're busy, when we're stressed, and also because it's hard. And I knew it was something I needed to do. And that's what led me to really start taking care of myself, my health, my mental health, as well as my physical health and my spiritual health, and seeking ways to relax and help myself, so that I could be the best version of me, and the best mum I could be, and the best wife I could be.
Well,
And
this was the thing, Joe, just to come in here, was that when you did first come to me, you were facing a nervous breakdown, you know, like with the support of actually supporting your son, the strain on your marriage, which it's a strain on anyone to be dealing with a constant challenge. It could be an elderly parent. You went through that as well. You lost your mum, right? You know, the amount of unprocessed pain that you were carrying when you showed up, both in your cellular memory, but also in your energy field. And this is as a light worker empath. So, you know, here you are wanting to help others, but in such a state of pain yourself, which I recognize in me. This was a part of my process, that you were ready to do that. Okay, I've just got to do this. And I actually remember, even when you started the program, that it was like things seemed like they got worse before they get better. You know, bits were breaking off your car, your house, there were things going on, your son's behavior. But every so often they'd be like, oh my goodness, we've actually had a whole day. We've had a whole 48 hours. Like, things started to change. And I remember that happened whilst we were in the 6-month container together. But also, it was very evident that there was this constant thing between you wanting to do more work. You were used to being a high, you know, high sort of high, I don't want to say high functioning because it's the wrong word, but you were in the world of doing corporate stuff, being super well paid, feeling like you were on the top of your game. And here you are now feeling like, you know, you were taking care of everyone else's mess. Nothing was getting paid. Nothing was getting honored. Who are you now in all of this, right? That's what I remember. And, you know, I said to you when we started the program, because everyone's like, well, I want my life to be magically better, everything fabulously now. And I go, great. All right. Well, this is not a fair weather sailing program. This is an all weather training program, because if I can support you to support yourself and teach you the tools you need to be able to come back to your center, no matter how many times you fall off your horse or your wagon or whatever, you're going to then feel really confident in yourself, and you're going to stop having that negative anticipation because you know you can handle it. And there was a big thing in shifting your focus to where there were changes rather than, but this still is happening, and but this is, you know, because that's the compulsion, right? But I remember that there was a real self-sabotage thing going on in the fact that you wanted to be doing more healing work, but there was so many limitations to that for you in terms of in the house, whether there'd be a kickoff, whether you had the capacity energetically or physically. But there was also a real fear of sharing your gifts. And the more I've got to know you, the more I'm like, this is a serious persecution wound. You know, this is a very powerful healer who has really had a tough time every time she's sought to bring her gifts forward. Recently, I've had a massive reconnection to Lemuria and my trauma wound from there. And I said to you, I feel like that's where it's from. But the main point with all of this is we both know about Bruce Lipton's work, and anyone else who hasn't come across it, check out The Biology of Belief, The Honeymoon Effect. Amazing scientist who tells you that really our experiences up until the age of 7 shape us for life, right? In terms of the brain programming. However, what I've seen with every one of my clients, including you, is that when you decides to actually do the inner work to clear the trauma that's in you, the impact it has, not just on bloodline family members, elders and descendants, but also on partners and the wider community that is you, is huge. And this is not being talked about enough, because your son isn't under the age of 7, but as you've changed, he's changed, right? So I'm just aware of time. I want us to really get to the celebration bit, because what are we celebrating? Tell me what has happened, because you've had a tough year. It's been a birth canal. This is after the program, right? But what are we celebrating? Because what you had to do a lot of was 3D BS, right? Which I'm just going to say bullshit, but really it's paperwork. You had to do so much paperwork, so much advocating for your son with a system that you know is just so failing because it doesn't have the funding. And you knew what was right for him. As you said, the mainstream wasn't working enough, so you did everything you could. You straddled all worlds. But now you're celebrating some stuff. So let's hear what you're celebrating.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the key thing I'm celebrating right now is that we have finally, after years of hard work and slog and hours of paperwork and emails and chasing, we finally got him a place at a specialist SEND school. The local authority have agreed to send him there. They can see his need. I won't have to run him around every day to different settings, like he's go to a farm on a couple of days, for example. He'll be transported there as well. So suddenly I'm going to go from having hardly any time to myself. He'll be in school 9:30 till 4, hopefully. and all his needs will be met because they're specially trained to deal with exactly him, his needs, and everybody's on site that could need to be there. So even if he has a wobble, they can cope with it and they can help him and, you know, help uncross some of the crossed wires that have happened due to his unmet needs. And he's excited for it as well. And he wants this as well for himself, which is amazing. And I just can't tell you, I almost can't speak because of it. It took me a week to take the news in. And I just, for his sake, I hope this is, well, I know this is going to be the change we all need, that he needs, so that he can continue to learn and grow and become the full, happy, well-rounded child that I know he is.
Teen these days. And did you hear Anna there? She's learned it. She's gone from hoping. She knows. And this is the kind of switch. I mean, it was a big thing, your language. I'm buzzing for you right now, Anna, because I know you've really been through it. And I know the difference between you and someone else is you just didn't give up. You've got some serious Scorpio metal in you.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And what I would say is this process has really tested my faith. And I don't think I even knew what faith was before now, to be honest. I was like, well, what's faith? How can you believe in something you don't see? You know, I guess I've got that kind of scientific brain. No, I have to be able to see it. Learning to trust and surrender has been a really big part of my journey. And I'd say that's one of the other big celebrations, is that I, with patience, have learned to trust myself first and foremost, trust the process and surrender to it, knowing the universe has got my back. Everything is for my highest good. And that even the challenges that come up now don't need to be a problem. They are opportunities, and I actually see it this way now, of what can I learn from this? What have I learned from this? And that switch in perspective is just life-changing, really. But learning to trust yourself, and the other key part is learning to love yourself. Every part of yourself, even the bits you're not so keen on, because they're all part of you. And then it all comes down to choice. You choose to surrender, you choose to accept, and then you can adapt as you need to. And it's a choice.
It's a pure. How would you say the course helped you to do that? What do you feel? And I mean, I would love you also just to touch base on how things have shifted with your husband as well. Because I mean, you two, I always felt you were tight, but you were under a lot of strain.
Yeah.
So how did the course help you, and what's the shift with your husband?
The course taught me how to shift my perspective. It taught me how to listen to my own innate wisdom, how to not look outside of myself, how to switch that inner dialogue that was really bringing me down without me even knowing, to noticing I was even doing it is the first step, really. Being able to ask for help when I needed it, which for me is really hard. And sometimes actually just being able to take a step back and say, okay, I can see how I'm feeling. What do I need to do now? I'm not sure, I'll ask. Or, right, I'm going to go to my toolbox. What can I use? Because there are so many tools that I have learnt to use now, that I have a plethora of tools from the F.E.A.R course, which was magical in itself. And the friends I've made from there, they're all there to help. There are so many people I can call upon at any time now if I need that help. And it's learnt me to bring me back to me, to learn who I am again, and learn to love me.
I think that's the thing I see with you. And I say I think because we know that we all need mindset shifting tools, right? We know that the way when you come into this program, you're learning a multidimensional perspective. So you're working with the physical, the emotional, the psychological, and the spiritual. And one of the key things that helps with that mindset shifting sticking, even though you had to keep going, right? You had to keep stepping back on, was the clearing, the subconscious program clearing, which, this is an incorporation of some of the work that I did with my lovely teacher, Susanna Kennedy, that I then share on. And I'm laughing because I've got the pink flame of grace, I've got the golden flame of wisdom, and you've got the blue flame of divine intent and power on in you, right? And there's something, and also Archangel Michael's frequency, and I feel Palethi Nat of that indigo energy, right, which is very protective. But it's more that you, I feel I've seen you utilize the tools to support you in your home life. Some even being able to kind of share with your son, but also it's the impact for you in terms of your healing work, and when you're working with, you know, growing your business and stepping into another level of you, and you know how you allow yourself to embody the version of you want to become. I did a lot of that work as well, and I think I see it all the time that therapists and coaches etc. then start to utilize some of the tools in working with their clients, which is just a natural thing. Why wouldn't you do that? That's not like something that is a coach's training per se, although that's separate. Tell us about your son. Sorry, about your husband. How are things going with him?
So yeah, you're right.
Fun Anna as well. This is where we'll end it. Otherwise, we'll go on too long. But Fun Anna discovered, and tell us more.
Yeah. So my husband and I have always had a fantastic bond. We've before we had our son, before he started getting challenged, we'd never even had a crossed word, to be honest. And we'd been together. We'd been friends for 7 years. We got together. We were 5 years before we were married. 5 years before, you know. So gosh, yeah. And then when did we have our son? A couple of years or so after that. So, you know, we were together a long time. We'd been on a lot of holidays, done a lot of stuff together, been through quite a lot of fun stuff and adventures together. So to then suddenly be put into this situation where we were constantly challenged, and where we were just so exhausted, we didn't, you know, we become a little snippy sometimes, and we weren't used to that. So we had to find how to deal with that. And yeah, I mean, it got to the point where we were just like, maybe we should just separate to get some respite, you know? And we're like, no, it's not the answer. It's not the answer. How can we do this in such a way that our relationship gets stronger, our son's needs get met, and we can start to bring some joy back into our life as well? And just by asking those questions, I think you then start putting the motions in place and the actions to make that happen. So we worked really hard, and using the tools from the course and, you know, all the advice I learned through that course, we've just worked hard at our relationship. We've, you know, spent time talking and adulting, which felt new as well. And, you know, we're stronger than ever. You know, we have a fantastic relationship, and we work together, and we work as a family. You know, we come together for family conflabs when we can. And yeah.
And you've been on holidays. I've seen you go away and have some time.
We have tried to have a bit of time, always as a family. Going alone is not really an option for us at the moment.
Hold on, you did have a weekend on your own when your light language came through?
So we had one weekend last year, which was the first time in ages, and we went to Ibiza because that's one of our old haunts. And we had a couple of nights, and we were up in the castle having dinner, and literally in the middle of dinner, and I already had my light language, but suddenly the light language just spewed out of me. And that's the best way I can describe it, because literally it just like blah, 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 blah. And my husband was like, don't worry, I'll just keep talking to you as if we're having a conversation.
It's okay, have your moment. Channel is coming through.
I couldn't actually stop it. It needed to all come out. It was something to do with Sirius. I didn't know anything about Sirius at that point, and so I just let it do its thing, let it come out. It obviously needed to come out. Something to do with my husband and me. It was for both of us, and yeah, it was amazing. And we had a lovely time. We were shattered and we rested, but we had a beautiful time together. And ever since then, I've realised I need to, you know, I've worked hard on me and us, and you know, I feel like I've become a badass manifester, actually. I've really worked hard on that faith and trust. Keep using the tools, and I think the key there really is consistency. You know, when you look back,
say about working hard is that what you're saying is you were disciplined about being consistent. You know, that was what the hard work was about, not giving up and going.
Not giving up.
Yeah, just keep going. That's it, right?
That's key, because no matter how rubbish you feel, no matter how many steps back you feel you've taken, often follows a breakthrough.
It's pretty, we say it in the program. It's like you've just talked about the step back and step up, take the bird's eye view. It's one of the rainbow gems. And then another one is regression precedes progression. So it was learning to recognize that and knowing as you get to different levels of your own soul's growth, you encounter different, it's like different level, different devil. I love that. When I read that, I was like, oh, thank God, because like the rules are different on each level, and you learn to be a badass manifester at each level, holding the frequency. So now you are ready because you've done your personal refounding, right? Securing your foundations. Now, as your son is going to integrate into school, you're going to be able to get on with sharing your healing mission with others.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to say, if anyone's interested in Anna, where do you do your work, Anna?
Well, when I can, I work from home at the moment.
And where's home? Which kind of area of England?
So I'm in West Sussex.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've got some work to do to put a website together, to really put myself out there, which I never have, and really start to build up my business. And I know it's all right there.
Listen, we're doing that work now. Make it easy. So if people are interested in Anna, what Anna does, because Anna is a hands-on therapist. If you're local and you could actually visit Anna, like honestly, and very, very powerful, intuitive, and the light language and everything else. Let's wrap up, sweetheart, just so that it's sound bitey for people. What would you say to anyone who's thinking about and taking this journey? Because you came in and you weren't like, oh, we've got loads of money. It was a stretch. So to make this kind of commitment when you're facing big challenges and don't necessarily have easy access to funds, which is quite common for people, what would you say?
That was my first step. I had an inner knowing. I knew I had to do this work. And when I joined that workshop with you, I knew it was with you I needed to do it, and I just knew it. And so yes, I stepped back and go, oh, can I really afford that? What if it doesn't work? What if I can't do it? I had all the usual ego stories going on to try and stop me. And I was like, no, I need to do this. I have this really strong inner feeling. I need to do this, and I need to do this now. This has been placed in front of me for a reason. That was my first step, my first taste of faith, if you like, of trusting my inner wisdom. And I can't say I've regretted it once. It's not been easy at times. It's been tough to go in, but so amazing. There's so much gold from all that hard work that I defy anyone to not do it. I just don't know why you wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But you've just got to keep consistent. It's not about being clever or having the time. You make the time for the things you want to do, and you've just got to keep going, even when things feel challenging. Step back for a little bit and then get back on top of it. Definitely.
I feel like this is the biggest thing, because I was with my friend Tara Love Perry, and she does all this lovely, I love you me work and self-love work, and it's beautiful work, but it's getting someone to it. Why would you face stuff that's painful, right? So I think the main thing for us to remember, for anyone who's listening, is that what we do when we come into the Fearless program is we firstly get a sense of who you want to be. What is the life you want to embody? What is your personal paradise? What is it you want, which we usually don't know. We know what we don't want much better, right? That's why the start of the process is booking a desire mapping call, which is a free call with me presently. And that's for us to establish the gap from where you are to where you want to be and what's going to most help you now, because it might not be fearless. It might be liberation from limitation or the pre-birth stuff I mentioned. So it's a good place to find these things out first. So you have the most graceful and easy path you can. But I think the main thing that I know you did so beautifully was you reached out when you needed support. And that's my role, and the other coaches' roles, is that we hold your hand through the scary stuff. We're there. And that's the life-changing thing. That's why digital programs and books and courses that are, there's not that kind of expertise and interaction don't really work so well, because you ain't going to see your own blind spots. It takes a lot for you to trust someone else to go, hey, sweetheart, have a look at that again. Look at it again. Look at it again. And it's okay if you want me to fuck off right now. It's okay. So thank you, Anna, so much for your time. I would love for everyone that feels a pull to you, because like you felt a pull to me, there are going to be so many people that watch this that resonate with what you've been through and will probably want to reach out. And, I don't feel your work is just in the realms that you're currently doing. I feel like you're going to be expanding. So, it might well be, some consultations online, that kind of thing, if people would like to know more about your journey. Anything you want to finish with before we just say goodbye?
Just to say, thank you for bringing me back to Fun Anna. who was birthed again at one of your fantastic retreats. And, you know, yeah, thank you for everything, really, because it's your hard work and efforts that have brought all this stuff together for people like me. I consider myself just an ordinary person who's had some challenges, but I've now learnt to face them head on. I've learnt to adult and accept help and use the tools and just keep going. And it's just such a life-changing experience. And I just, yeah, I wouldn't question doing it again.
Oh, bless you. Well, it's lovely. I mean, you continue to be in the Rise membership, which is awesome for graduates, and the yoga you continue to come to as well, which is part, I mean, this is online and it's all part of what we offer as part of the package. But I think, you know, from my point of view with you, thank you for what you've shared. And I feel like I want to speak to that hard work piece, because yes, it is, you know, anyone who has a passion to share something with this world, which I believe anyone who comes to me has, you know, there is, you know, when you conceive an idea, you've then got to gestate it and birth it, nurture it, and put it out into the world. And when you're a pioneer or a trailblazer, or you're coming to share gifts that in previous lifetimes you've been persecuted for, you do encounter a lot of, you know, self-sabotage, resistance, self-doubt that are required to overcome. And that's why this course is there, and the methodology is there to support you through it. So I have to use the tools myself, right? Because they work for me too. And it is very much about I think choosing the path of grace and ease is what we were saying before we hit record, is that it doesn't mean everything's graceful and easy all the time. But one thing I've learned to keep self-adjusting and tuning into, which I'm offering to you as well on your path now, is, you know, am I approaching this with pleasure, you know, or not? Am I just grafting? Am I forcing? Am I pushing because I've got to do something because I feel I have to? Like, can I approach this in a more graceful and easy way, and birth my gifts in this world, share them with the world without feeling like it all has to be done today? I think that's something that you've also really, really grasped. So I'm going to leave that there just so that this is digestible. But I want to thank you so much, Anna, for saying yes to you, for saying yes to Fearless, for all the celebrations that you've been able to share with us, because this is just the beginning. And you know, and I know, the better it gets.
That's actually a key thing, to be honest. You don't just come, do some work and off you pop again. It's continuous work, which is why I continue to stay with the Rise you know, membership, because it's really important to keep that momentum going even after you finish the course, because you really start learning then. And what happens is it just gets slightly easier because you catch yourself quicker and you notice things better quicker. And so, yeah, it's not an end, there's not an end goal as such. It just becomes easier, and you just keep learning and growing.
It becomes more fun. That's what
More fun.
Fun.
All right, whatever you choose it to be.
Yes, exactly. I think we saw someone had posted in the Rise group that, you know, you're that powerful that if you decide you're not powerful, you're not. And it's that choice. So it can work the other way. So, my loves, anyone who wants to know more about Anna, get in touch with us. We'll make sure we've got some details we can send you for her beautiful work. And if you would like to know more about doing this journey and the options that are available, please book yourself a desire mapping call. I'll be kicking off again with the next round in September at some point, probably, or maybe even early October. So you can join at any time, and it might be easier for you to join sooner rather than later. But for now, yeah, thank you so much for taking your time. I'd love to hear your feedback on this and how it's resonated, and if you have any questions, and we'll come back to you. So much love. Take care for now. Check the website out for the link to the call. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.